My friends, let me tell you something important today. No matter who you are, where you come from, or what background you have, learning English is possible for you. Many people believe that English is difficult, that it's only for those who are highly educated or born in certain countries. But the truth is, English is just a language, like any other. It's not a symbol of intelligence, it's a tool of communication. And if others can learn it, so can you. Think about this. The people who speak English fluently today were once beginners, just like you. They started with broken words, with mistakes, with hesitation. But they kept going. They practiced, they listened, they spoke even when they felt shy or embarrassed. And slowly, step by step, their words became clearer, their confidence grew, and the fear disappeared. The secret is not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. Every time you listen to English, every time you speak a few words, every time you read or write, you are building your own future. Mistakes are not your enemies, they are your teachers. Every mistake you make takes you closer to fluency. Don't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect environment, or the perfect teacher. The truth is, you are your own teacher. Your effort, your courage, and your determination will decide how far you go. With a mobile phone in your hand, with books, with videos, with conversations, you already have everything you need to grow. And remember this, English is not just about grammar or vocabulary. It's about opening doors. It's about connecting with people, sharing your ideas, building confidence, and creating opportunities. It can transform your life, but only if you take the first step and keep walking, no matter how slow it feels. So don't be afraid. Start today, even with one word, one sentence, one small attempt. The world doesn't laugh at those who try. The world respects those who never give up. Believe in yourself, because the power to learn English easily is already inside you. All you have to do is trust the process, keep practicing, and never stop moving forward. Many people carry the belief that English is something reserved for a certain group of people, those born in countries where English is the first language, those who attend expensive schools, or those who come from highly educated families. But that belief is only a limitation we place on ourselves. The truth is, English is just a language, and like any other language in the world, it can be learned by anyone who has the courage to try. It doesn't belong to a single country, it doesn't belong to a single community, and it definitely doesn't belong only to the privileged. It is a tool, and tools are meant to be used by anyone who chooses to pick them up. Think about it. When a child is born, no matter where that child is from, they don't know a single word of any language. They don't know English, they don't know their mother tongue, they don't know anything at all. But as they grow, they start learning words by listening, by observing, and by practicing. If a baby can learn to speak without ever studying a grammar book, then why can't you? The only difference between you and that baby is time. You already know how to learn. You've been learning languages since the day you were born. So why should English be any different? The same brain that learned your first language is capable of learning another. The problem is not that English is too difficult. The problem is that we often compare ourselves with others who are ahead of us in their journey. When you hear someone speaking fluently, you might think they are talented, they are smart, they are special. But no, they are not special. They simply started before you. They practiced longer than you, and they made more mistakes than you were willing to make. The moment you stop comparing yourself to others and focus only on your own growth, you will realize that the ability to learn English was always inside you. Another reason many people doubt themselves is because they think English is a symbol of intelligence. They see someone speaking confidently and assume that person must be smarter, more capable, or more educated. But intelligence has nothing to do with language. A farmer who has never been to school can be wise beyond imagination, and a businessman speaking perfect English can still make foolish decisions. Language doesn't define intelligence, it only reflects practice. And when you understand this, the fear of English slowly disappears. You see, the world has created a kind of myth around English, making it look like a mountain that only a few can climb. But when you look closer, it's not a mountain, it's a staircase. And like any staircase, the only way to climb it is one step at a time. Every word you learn is a step. Every sentence you try to speak is a step. Every conversation you attempt, even if it's broken, is another step. And the best part is, the staircase has no gatekeeper. No one can stop you from climbing. No one can decide that English is not for you. The only person who can stop you is you. The beauty of learning English today is that the world has given you endless opportunities. You don't need to sit in a classroom anymore. You don't need to pay huge amounts of money for lessons. With just a phone in your hand, you have access to conversations, videos, movies, books, and articles in English. If you want to hear how native speakers sound, you can listen to podcasts. If you want to practice speaking, you can talk to yourself, record your voice, or find a partner online. If you want to learn vocabulary, you can read articles or even follow English captions while watching your favorite shows. Everything is available, and it's available for free. What more proof do you need that English is not limited to anyone? And yet, despite all these opportunities, many people still hesitate. Why? Because of fear. Fear of being laughed at, fear of making mistakes, fear of looking less intelligent. But here's something you need to remind yourself. People are not laughing at your English. They are laughing because they wish they had your courage. Every time you open your mouth to speak, you are doing something powerful, something many people are too afraid to even attempt. So instead of worrying about who is watching, focus on who you are becoming, because every attempt you make builds the person you are destined to be. Think of English as a key. Imagine standing in front of a door that leads to new opportunities, better jobs, global friendships, access to knowledge, and the confidence to express yourself anywhere in the world. The key to that door is English. But here's the truth. The key is not locked away in some treasure chest that only a few can access. It's lying in front of you, waiting for you to pick it up. You don't need permission, you don't need approval, you just need to bend down, take the key, and start using it. And once you do, that door opens, and behind it is a world you never thought possible. So when you feel discouraged, remind yourself of this. English is not a privilege, it is a possibility. It is not a gift given to some and denied to others. It is a skill that anyone can build. You don't need to be extraordinary to learn it. You don't need to be perfect to begin. All you need is the belief that you can. And once you carry that belief, everything else, practice, progress, fluency, will follow naturally. Every person you admire today who speaks English fluently once stood exactly where you are right now. They were once nervous, unsure of themselves, afraid of being judged, and uncertain whether they could ever truly master the language. Fluency is not something people are born with. It is built brick by brick, through practice, mistakes, and persistence. The smooth sentences you hear from others today were once broken words, just like yours. The confident speeches you watch now were once hesitant whispers spoken in private. Every fluent speaker has a history of struggle, and that history is what made them strong. It's easy to look at someone who speaks English effortlessly and believe they have something special that you don't. Maybe you think they have a natural talent, or they were lucky enough to study in the right schools, or they grew up in an environment where English was everywhere. But here's the truth. Even those people had to start with nothing. They didn't know grammar when they were babies. They didn't know vocabulary when they first began. They had to crawl before they could walk, and they had to stumble before they could run. You are not behind. You are simply at the beginning of your journey, and beginnings always feel difficult. Think about your own first language. When you were a child, did you speak it perfectly? Of course not. You made mistakes. You mixed up words. You mispronounced them, and sometimes people laughed. But did that stop you? No. You kept repeating, you kept listening, you kept practicing, and slowly, without even realizing it, you became fluent. The exact same process works with English. The only difference is that as adults, we often lose patience. We expect results too quickly, forgetting that learning a language is like planting a seed. You cannot plant it today and expect a tree tomorrow. You must water it, give it sunlight, protect it, and allow time to do its magic. Eventually, that seed grows into something strong and unshakable. Fluency is not a sudden event. It is a journey made up of small victories. The first time you understand a sentence in a movie without subtitles, that is progress. The first time you say a sentence in English and someone understands you, that is progress. The first time you can think of a word without translating from your mother tongue, that is progress. Each of these small moments may not seem like much, but together they build the foundation of fluency. Every fluent speaker you admire went through these exact steps. They too struggled. They too hesitated. They too doubted themselves. What made them different is that they did not stop. Sometimes we imagine that fluent speakers never made mistakes, but the reality is the opposite. They made more mistakes than anyone else. They failed more times, they were corrected more times, they were embarrassed more times. But instead of letting those moments break them, they used them as stepping stones. Imagine if they had quit the first time someone laughed at their accent, or the first time they forgot a word, or the first time they felt shy. They would not be fluent today. The reason they succeeded is because they accepted being beginners and they embraced the learning process fully. When you see someone speak English fluently, don't see the finished product. See the process that got them there. See the hours of listening to words they didn't understand. See the frustration of trying to speak but not finding the right words. See the nights spent repeating sentences again and again until they sounded natural. See the courage it took to speak in front of others when their voice was shaking. Every fluent speaker carries scars from the battles they fought with their own fears. And those scars are what made them fluent. You might wonder, but what if I am too late to start? What if I missed my chance? Remember, every fluent speaker started as a beginner, and many began as adults just like you. Some started in their 20s, some in their 30s, some even in their 50s or 60s. Age does not decide your ability, your effort does. The language does not care how old you are, it only responds to how much time you give it. If you begin today, then today is your perfect starting point. The best time to start was years ago, but the second best time is right now. You should also remind yourself that fluency is not perfection. Even fluent speakers make mistakes. Even native speakers forget words, mix up grammar, or hesitate sometimes. Fluency does not mean never making errors. It means being able to communicate without fear, to express yourself with confidence, and to keep going even when you stumble. Every fluent person you admire is still learning. They are still improving, still expanding their vocabulary, still correcting themselves. Learning never ends, and that is what makes language so beautiful. So when you feel discouraged because your English is not perfect yet, remember this. The person you look up to once felt the same way. They too doubted themselves. They too thought it was impossible. They too wished for progress that felt slow to arrive, but they kept walking, step by step, mistake by mistake, until one day the words flowed without fear. That day will come for you too, as long as you don't stop. Because fluency is not a gift. It is the reward given to those who refuse to quit. The biggest mistake most people make when learning English is believing that success comes from intensity instead of consistency. They think if they study all night for 1 week, or if they read an entire grammar book in a month, they will suddenly become fluent. But language doesn't work like that. Fluency isn't built in a single day or in a burst of effort. It's built slowly, piece by piece, through daily practice. Just like a river carves a path through stone, not because of its strength, but because of its persistence, you too can master English if you remain consistent in your efforts. Imagine trying to build a strong body. If you go to the gym once a year and work out for 10 hours straight, will it make you strong? Of course not. Your muscles won't grow that way, but if you spend even 30 minutes every day exercising, your body will change. The same principle applies to English. 1 hour of consistent practice every day is far more powerful than 10 hours of study once a month. Because it is not the size of your effort that matters most, but the regularity of it. Every time you expose yourself to English, even in small ways, you train your brain to adapt, to absorb, and to grow. Consistency is about creating habits, and habits shape who you become. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't do it for hours in one day, and then forget about it for a month. You do it daily, even if it takes only 2 minutes. Over time, this small act keeps your teeth healthy for life. In the same way, even if you practice English for just 10 or 15 minutes a day, listening to a podcast, reading a short article, speaking a few sentences out loud, that habit will transform your ability in ways you cannot imagine. The problem is that many learners give up too soon. They practice for a week, don't see immediate results, and lose motivation. They want fluency to come quickly, like fast food, forgetting that language is more like planting a tree. You cannot rush growth, but you can nurture it daily. Every small effort compounds. If you learn 5 new words today, that's 150 words in a month and nearly 2,000 in a year. Think about that. Just 5 words a day could completely change your vocabulary in 1 year. That's the power of consistency. Another truth about consistency is that it builds confidence. When you practice every day, you don't allow fear to take root, but when you stop for weeks or months, your fear grows stronger than your skills. That's why many people feel stuck. They study, they stop, they forget, and then they blame themselves for not being good enough. But it's not about being good or bad, it's about being regular. Fluency belongs not to the fastest learner, but to the most consistent learner. The one who shows up every single day, no matter how small the step, will always win in the long run. Think about athletes, musicians, or artists. Do they become masters because they practice once in a while? No, they practice daily, even when they don't feel like it. They repeat the same drills, the same notes, the same movements until they become second nature. English works the same way. The more consistent you are, the more natural the language becomes. At first, speaking feels forced. You translate in your head, you hesitate, you struggle to find words. But if you do it daily, one day you'll notice the words coming out automatically, without effort. That's fluency, and it's born from consistency. Consistency also keeps motivation alive. When you do something every day, it becomes part of your identity. You stop seeing English as a subject you have to learn and start seeing it as something you do. It becomes natural, like drinking water or checking your phone. And when that happens, progress becomes inevitable. You don't need to push yourself with extreme discipline anymore. The habit itself carries you forward. That's the quiet power of consistency. It doesn't just improve your skills, it transforms your mindset. And here's something even more important. Consistency is not about time, it's about commitment. Some people say, I don't have 1 hour every day to study English. But consistency doesn't demand 1 hour. It could be 10 minutes of listening to an English story while traveling, 15 minutes of reading an article before bed, or practicing a few sentences in front of the mirror in the morning. Small efforts done daily are far more effective than long efforts done rarely. You don't need to change your life to learn English. You just need to fit English into the life you already live. Of course, there will be days when you feel tired, discouraged, or too busy, but that's exactly when consistency matters most, because showing up on difficult days is what separates success from failure. You don't need to do it perfectly, you just need to do it. Even if it's a short practice, even if it feels small, it still counts. The chain of consistency is like a necklace. If you skip too many links, it breaks. But if you keep adding links, one by one, the chain becomes unbreakable. Remember this, fluency is not a result of extraordinary talent. It is a result of ordinary practice repeated consistently over time. The fluent speaker you admire today didn't learn English overnight. They showed up every day, even when progress was invisible, even when no one was clapping for them, even when they felt like giving up. And now, when you hear their smooth English, you are hearing the sound of years of consistency. If they could do it, so can you. One of the greatest fears people carry when learning English is the fear of making mistakes. They think that if they say the wrong word, use the wrong grammar, or mispronounce something, people will laugh at them, or worse, judge them as less intelligent. But the truth is, mistakes are not something to fear, they are something to embrace. Mistakes are not proof of failure. They are proof that you are trying. And in the journey of learning, trying is the most important step. Imagine a child learning to walk. That child falls hundreds of times before taking even one successful step. But do we call the child a failure for falling? No. We cheer, we encourage, we smile at their effort because we know that falling is part of the process. The same is true for English. Every mistake you make is like a fall that brings you closer to walking fluently. Without those falls, without those errors, you cannot move forward. The only true mistake is refusing to try at all. Many learners spend years avoiding mistakes. They stay silent in class, they hesitate to speak in conversations, they hide behind their fear, and in doing so, they rob themselves of growth. Perfection becomes their prison. But here's the reality: no one ever became fluent by staying silent. Fluency grows only when you use the language, and using it means you will make mistakes. Every wrong word teaches you the right one. Every broken sentence strengthens your next attempt. Every mispronunciation sharpens your ear for correction. The mistakes you fear are actually your greatest teachers. Think about how you learned your first language. Did you speak it perfectly as a child? Of course not. You mixed words, created your own grammar, and pronounced things incorrectly. Your family corrected you, sometimes laughed, but they still understood you. And little by little, those mistakes shaped your learning until your speech became natural. Why should English be any different? The same process applies. The only difference is that as adults, we've been taught to see mistakes as shameful. But in reality, they are signs of progress. If you are making mistakes, it means you are learning actively instead of hiding passively. You must also remember that even fluent speakers make mistakes. Even native speakers forget words, stumble in sentences, or mix up grammar. They laugh, correct themselves, and keep speaking. Do you think they feel ashamed? No, because they know mistakes are human. The difference is not that fluent people never make mistakes. The difference is that they don't let mistakes stop them. They treat them as stepping stones. And that mindset is what you need to adopt. In fact, the fastest learners are not the ones who avoid mistakes, but the ones who make the most of them. They speak without fear, they allow themselves to sound imperfect, they ask for corrections, and they keep going no matter what. Every conversation becomes a lesson, every error becomes knowledge. While others hesitate, they grow. That is why some learners improve in months, while others remain stuck for years. It's not about intelligence, it's about courage. The courage to be wrong today so you can be right tomorrow. Mistakes also do something powerful. They build resilience. Every time you face embarrassment and keep going, you become stronger. You realize that being laughed at does not destroy you, being corrected does not harm you, and being wrong is not the end of the world. Slowly, fear loses its control over you, and once fear is gone, fluency becomes unstoppable. Because fluency is not about speaking perfectly, it is about speaking confidently, even when you are not perfect. There is also a hidden gift inside mistakes. They make your learning memorable. Think about the last time you said something wrong in English and someone corrected you. You probably remember that moment vividly. Why? Because the embarrassment burned it into your memory. That's why mistakes are more powerful than lessons in a book. You might forget a grammar rule you read once, but you will never forget the mistake you made in real life. And that mistake becomes your personal teacher, guiding you forever. So instead of avoiding mistakes, start collecting them. Treat them like badges of honor. Each mistake you make is proof that you are stepping out of your comfort zone, proof that you are practicing, proof that you are growing. The more mistakes you make, the faster you learn. Imagine two people, one who stays silent to avoid being wrong, and another who speaks boldly and makes 100 mistakes in a week. Who will learn faster? Of course, the one who dared to be wrong. That person will have 100 new lessons, while the silent one will have none. This is why you must shift your perspective. Don't see mistakes as failures. See them as feedback. They are not walls blocking your path. They are signs showing you the way forward. Each mistake is like a teacher whispering, "Not this way, try another." And if you listen to those whispers, you will always find the right path. Without mistakes, there is no learning. Without learning, there is no fluency. Mistakes are not the enemy. They are the foundation of your success. And here's the final truth. The world does not remember your mistakes, only your growth. The people who might laugh today will one day admire you for the courage you had to keep going. The same ones who doubted you will ask you how you did it. And when you speak fluently, your mistakes will no longer feel like shame. They will feel like stepping stones that carried you to victory. So many people wait for the perfect teacher, the perfect classroom, or the perfect environment before they begin learning English. They think, if I had a better school, if I had a good tutor, if I had the money to join an expensive course, then I would become fluent. But that is not the truth. The truth is, no matter how many teachers you have, no matter how many courses you join, the only person who can truly make you fluent is yourself. You are your own best teacher because nobody can practice for you, nobody can build your confidence for you, and nobody can live your journey for you. Think about it. A teacher can explain grammar, but if you don't use it in your own speech, it remains useless. A tutor can correct your pronunciation, but if you don't repeat it daily, the sound will not stick. A classroom can give you lessons, but if you never take them outside into real life, your English will never grow. Teachers can guide you, but they cannot walk the path for you. You are the one who must take every step. In fact, some of the best English speakers in the world never had formal teachers. They learned by listening, by observing, by practicing with whatever resources they had. Some learned from radio, some from movies, some from songs, some by talking to themselves in front of a mirror. They did not wait for the perfect environment. They created their own environment. And that is what you must do too. Because your real teacher is not outside, it is inside. Your discipline, your curiosity, your hunger to improve will always be stronger than any classroom lesson. Being your own teacher means taking responsibility. Instead of blaming your school, your background, or your circumstances, you say, I will find a way. If you don't understand a word, you look it up. If you can't find someone to practice with, you practice with yourself. If you don't have access to paid courses, you use free resources online. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to push you and start pushing yourself, your progress will multiply because no one is more invested in your success than you. We live in a time where knowledge is everywhere. You don't need to wait for someone to spoon feed you. YouTube is filled with lessons, podcasts are available at your fingertips, books are accessible with a click, and conversation partners can be found online across the world. You carry a powerful library in your pocket, your phone. The question is not whether resources exist. The question is whether you are ready to use them consistently, and that decision is always in your hands. Another reason you are your best teacher is that you know yourself better than anyone else. You know your strengths, your weaknesses, your habits, and your style of learning. A teacher in a classroom has to teach everyone the same way, but you can design your learning exactly how it works best for you. If you learn better by listening, you can focus on podcasts and audiobooks. If you learn better by reading, you can choose articles, novels, or newspapers. If speaking helps you the most, you can record your own voice or practice in front of a mirror daily. You don't have to follow a strict system designed for others. You can create your own path because nobody understands your journey better than you. Being your own teacher also means you control your pace. Some days you will have energy for an hour of practice, other days only for 10 minutes. And that's fine, because when you are the teacher of yourself, you can adjust without guilt. The important thing is not how much you study in one day, but how consistently you keep showing up. A teacher might pressure you with deadlines, but when you guide yourself, you learn to balance discipline with flexibility. That balance makes the journey sustainable for a lifetime. There is also another truth. Sometimes teachers can limit you. They give you rules and expect you to follow them blindly, but real learning happens when you explore beyond the rules. For example, grammar is important, but if you spend all your time memorizing grammar rules without speaking, you will never be fluent. A self-taught learner knows that fluency comes from practice, not just from theory. That's why people who take charge of their own learning often progress faster than those who depend fully on teachers, because they don't wait for permission to use the language, they just use it. When you take ownership of your learning, you also develop confidence, because every progress you make feels like your own achievement. Nobody can take the credit. When you speak a sentence correctly, you know it's not because someone forced you, it's because you practiced. When you understand a movie without subtitles, you know it's not because of a classroom, it's because of your consistency. Each small victory strengthens your belief in yourself, and that belief fuels even more progress. Of course, this doesn't mean teachers are useless. A good teacher can save you time, guide you, and inspire you. But they are only a support, not the main driver. You are the driver. If you sit in the driver's seat and take control, the teacher becomes a helpful passenger. But if you hand over the wheel completely, you will never learn how to drive. And in the end, learning English is about driving your own journey with courage, not waiting for someone else to take you there. So remind yourself daily. You don't need to wait for the perfect system, the perfect guide, or the perfect environment. You are capable of teaching yourself, practicing with yourself, correcting yourself, and motivating yourself. Your success does not depend on someone else's approval. It depends on your effort. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak, every mistake you correct, these are the lessons you give yourself, and that makes you the most powerful teacher you will ever have. English is not just a collection of grammar rules and vocabulary words. It is not only about writing correct sentences or pronouncing words clearly. English is much more than that. It is a key that can open countless doors in your life. Doors of opportunity, doors of connection, doors of growth, and doors of confidence. When you learn English, you are not only learning a language, you are unlocking possibilities that can change your entire future. Think about opportunities first. Around the world, English has become the common language of business, education, and travel. If you want a better job, English can set you apart from others. Employers see English not only as a skill, but as a sign of confidence, communication, and global awareness. Many doors remain closed to those who cannot express themselves in English, but the moment you begin to speak it, those doors start to open. Suddenly, interviews feel easier, career paths look wider, and promotions become more possible. It is not because English makes you smarter, it is because it allows you to connect with more people, to understand more knowledge, and to operate in a larger world. But the doors English opens are not only professional, they are deeply personal too. Imagine traveling to another country and being able to communicate without fear. Imagine meeting people from different cultures and understanding their stories. Imagine watching your favorite movies or reading books in their original language without waiting for translations. English connects you to a bigger world. It breaks the walls that once kept you limited to only what was around you. Through English, the world suddenly feels smaller, closer, and more accessible. Even in your own country, English can give you a voice. In many places, people respect and listen more to those who can express themselves in English. While this may feel unfair, it is also a reality. Instead of seeing it as a burden, see it as a chance to empower yourself. Speaking English does not make you better than others, but it does give you the power to be heard in more places, to share your ideas with more people, and to participate in conversations that were once out of reach. That power is not about showing off. It is about expanding your ability to influence and inspire. English also opens the door to knowledge. The internet, the world's largest library, holds most of its information in English. Research papers, articles, tutorials, and lectures, millions of them are available, but only to those who can understand the language. Imagine how much wisdom you might be missing if you avoid English. The more you learn it, the more you can access that treasure chest of knowledge. It is like having a master key to the biggest library in the world. With English, your education never has to stop, no matter where you live or what resources surround you. But perhaps the most beautiful door English opens is the one inside you, the door to self-confidence. Every time you speak and someone understands you, you feel a spark of pride. Every time you read and understand without translating, you feel stronger. Every time you express your thoughts clearly in English, you discover a new version of yourself, one that is fearless, capable, and ready to face the world. Confidence is not built overnight. It grows with every small victory. And English gives you countless chances to win those small victories, until one day you realize you no longer hide from opportunities. You walk through them boldly. There is also another door that English opens, the door of empathy and understanding. When you learn English, you are not just learning words, you are learning how people in different parts of the world think, feel, and express themselves. You begin to see the world from new perspectives. You realize that humanity is bigger than the borders of your own country. You discover that people who may look or sound different from you actually share the same dreams, fears, and hopes. English becomes a bridge, connecting hearts across oceans and cultures. And let's not forget how English can inspire your future generations. When you learn it, you are not only changing your own life, you are creating a legacy. Your children, your family, and your community will see your example and believe that they can do it too. You become proof that learning English is possible, no matter the background, no matter the age, no matter the circumstances. And in this way, your effort to open doors for yourself becomes the reason others find the courage to open theirs. The truth is, English will not change who you are at your core. You will always remain yourself. But it will give you tools to show the world who you are with more clarity. It will allow your ideas to travel further, your voice to reach louder, and your dreams to stretch wider. English does not make you better than others. It makes you more connected to others. And in today's world, connection is everything. So when you practice English, don't just see it as a subject to study. See it as a key you are shaping day by day. A key that, when ready, will unlock doors you once thought were locked forever. And once you open those doors, you will realize that the effort, the mistakes, the consistency, and the struggles were all worth it. Because behind those doors lies the life you've been dreaming of, waiting for you to step in. My friends, you have now seen that English is not an impossible mountain to climb. It is a journey, and like every journey, it begins with a single step. Anyone can learn it because it belongs to no one, and yet to everyone. Every fluent speaker you admire once stood exactly where you are today, struggling, doubting, and yet daring to try. And what carried them forward was not talent or luck, but consistency, the daily effort, the small attempts, the courage to keep going even when it felt slow. Yes, you will make mistakes. Yes, you will stumble. But every mistake is a sign that you are moving forward. Every stumble is proof that you are walking the path. Don't ever be ashamed of your mistakes. They are not failures, they are lessons. And with every lesson, you grow stronger. Never forget, you are your own greatest teacher. The tools are already in your hands. The resources are all around you. What matters most is not how perfect your English is today, but how determined you are to improve tomorrow. With discipline, with courage, with practice, you will create the version of yourself that you dream about. And when you do, doors will open. Opportunities will appear where you once saw walls. Knowledge will flow to you, confidence will rise in you, and connections will form around you. English will not change your heart, but it will give your heart a bigger stage, a louder voice, and a brighter future. So let me remind you once more, your journey to English fluency is not about being the fastest, the smartest, or the most talented. It is about being the one who refuses to give up. If you keep going, if you keep practicing, if you keep believing, then one day you will speak with the confidence and fluency you once only dreamed of. And in that moment, you will look back and realize it was not impossible after all. It was always possible because the power to achieve it was inside you from the very beginning.